The Book of Job, Introduction. The Book of Job has long been praised as a masterpiece of literature. What is it about the book that prompts such praise? Most Christians I know don't feel that way about the Book of Job. Perhaps it is because many tend to neglect the Old Testament altogether. Yet Paul wrote of the value of the Old Testament scriptures. See Romans 15:4. Note that the Old Testament was written for our learning, that it provides patience and comfort, and as such can be a source of hope. This is especially true with the story of Job, to whom James referred when seeking to instill patience. See James 5:10 and 11. Because the book of Job is so often neglected, yet presents a valuable lesson and is so highly praised by even people of the world, Christians should certainly take the time to study this portion of God's Word. Who wrote the book and when? No one really knows. Jewish tradition attributes the book to Moses, and other authors have been suggested: Job, Elihu, Solomon, Isaiah, Hezekiah, and Baruch, Jeremiah's scribe. All that can be said with certainty is that the author was a loyal Hebrew who was not strictly bound by the popular creed that assumed suffering was always the direct result of sin. Because the author is unknown, its date has been hotly debated among scholars. Some think it was written before Moses, pre-1500 BC. Others put it at the time of Solomon, circa 900 BC, and some even as late as Babylonian exile or later, post-600 BC. The uncertainty of the author and date does not nullify the book's inspiration, for it is affirmed in the New Testament. Paul quotes from it on several occasions in his writings. For the Christian who accepts the inspiration of the New Testament, such evidence is sufficient. Even though inspired, are we to take the events described in it as historically true? There are several reasons for believing that they are. 1. The style of the opening and close of the book certainly conform to other biblical narratives that are historical. See 1:1 with 1 Samuel 1:1 and Luke 1:5. 2. In Ezekiel 14:14, Job is mentioned along with Noah and Daniel, two other figures of history. James, the Lord's brother, refers to Job as an example of perseverance. See James 5:11. The historical events appear to be set in the patriarchal style, sometime between Noah and Moses. There are no allusions to the law of Moses in the book, but there is a mention of a flood, 22:16. Job functions as a priest in offering sacrifices for his family, 1:5, similar to what we find with Abraham in Genesis 12:7. His longevity is typical of the patriarchs in 42:16. Also see Genesis 11:22 through 26 and 32. For such reasons, I would place Job somewhat contemporary with Abraham, around 2000 BC. It is common to suggest that the purpose of the book is to answer the age-old question, why does God allow the righteous to suffer? That is certainly the question Job raises, but it is worthy to note that he himself never receives a direct answer, nor is one given by the author, other than to answer Satan's challenge. Does Job fear God for nothing? We are privileged to know of the challenge of Satan, and that God allows Job to suffer in answer to that challenge, but Job is never told this. Therefore, I suggest that the purpose of this book is, how should the righteous suffer? While Job's questions and complaints often come close to charging God with wrong, he never crosses the line and humbly admits to God when told that the answers to his questions are beyond his ability to understand. Thus the book shows us how the righteous should bear up under suffering. You have heard of the perseverance of Job, James 5:11. This ends the introduction to the book of Job.